Hi everyone, for this video I'll be showing different ways to mix colors that are neutral or near neutral. And I'm making this video because I prefer to mix my own neutralized colors instead of using a tube of black paint. The first two neutralization pairs that I'll have come from Burnt Umber and French Ultramarine, and then Burnt Umber with Indian Foam Blue. The first pair for neutralizing is a common way to make grays, in addition to using burnt sienna instead of burnt umber, but for this video I don't have burnt sienna. And when we see burnt umber with French ultramarine, we get a nice dark gray that is very close to neutral. So now when we mix the burnt umber with Indian Foam Blue, we can see a neutral that's even darker than the one we made with ultramarine blue. So the next color that I'll be mixing my two blues with is yellow ochre, and we'll see another mixture that is pretty close to neutral, but it will have a greenish cast compared to the ones made with burnt umber. So the first mixture we'll do is French ultramarine with yellow ochre. And when we mix these two colors together, we see this nice near neutral color that has a slight olive green cast to it. So if you want something that's nearly gray but has a slight chromatic hue to it, you can use French ultramarine and yellow ochre to get this nice greenish neutral. So the next color I'll be mixing yellow ochre with is Indian Foam Blue. So when we mix these two colors together, we get something like the previous mix where it's pretty close to neutral, but there is some bias in hue. And in this case, it looks like it's a seafoam green type of color. And also I'll write down what the hue bias is on these near neutrals above. So in addition to burnt umber and yellow ochre, you can get pretty nice neutrals when you mix these two blues with transparent pyrrole orange. So first I'll be mixing transparent pyrrole orange with French ultramarine, and the results look pretty close to the one I made with the burnt umber, where it's a nice deep gray color. So now I'll be mixing transparent Pyrrole orange with Indinfrom blue, and the results are similar to the one with the burnt umber, where we get a really nice dark neutral from these two colors. So the next set of colors that I'll be neutralizing or making muted tones with are my reds, which are Quinacridone Red Light, Perylene Maroon, and Potter's Pink. So the next mixing pair I'll use is Quinacridone Red Light with Phthalo Blue Green shade. And what we see here is a muted purple color. Even though it's not a true neutral, it can be a nice color for things like shadows because it is pretty muted. So the next color I'll be mixing Quin Red Light is with Phthalo Green Blue shade. And from what we see, this is really close to neutral. So if you want something that neutralizes Quin Red Light really well, Phthalo Green Blue shade is a really good option. So the next color I'll be mixing these two phthalos with is Perylene Maroon, starting with mixing Phthalo Blue Green shade with Perylene Maroon. So when I mix Phthalo Blue Green shade with Perylene Maroon, we do get something that's pretty close to neutral, but it does have a slight purplish cast, but it's not as noticeable as the one made with Quinacridone Red Light. So next I'll be mixing with Phthalo Green Blue shade, and like with the Quinacridone Red Light, it neutralizes the Perylene Maroon really well. So the next color I'll be mixing with is Potter's Pink, and I will neutralize it with Cobalt Teal and then Phthalo Green Blue shade. So first I'll mix Potter's Pink with Cobalt Teal. And from what we see, we have a nice soft granulating gray color. So next I'll mix Potter's Pink with Phthalo Green Blue shade. And like with the Cobalt Teal, we get a soft granulating gray color. So now that I've mixed my reds with the phthalos and Cobalt Teal, I'd like to show you what neutral mixes you can make with your rosy magenta colors, starting with Quinacridone Rose. So when we mix quinacridone rose with phthalo green blue shade, we notice something that's close to neutral, but there is a purplish cast to it compared to when we mixed phthalo green with quinacridone red light and Perylene maroon. So the next color I'll be mixing quinacridone rose with is phthalo green yellow shade. And to me, this neutralizes better with the quinacridone rose compared to the phthalo green blue shade. So now I'll show you how to neutralize quinacridone magenta with two different green colors, starting with phthalo green yellow shade. So I'll first mix quinacridone magenta with phthalo green yellow shade. From what we see, we have something that's pretty close to neutral, but there is a slight bluish cast compared to when we mixed it with quinacridone rose. So what I did to help get a better neutral was that I added a little bit of Hansa yellow light to the phthalo green, and I'll be using that mixture to neutralize the quinacridone magenta. So when we mix these two colors together, we get a really dark color, which I think is a better neutralizing pair than with the phthalo green yellow shade. So the next color I'll be trying to neutralize is Dioxazine purple, first starting with Hansa yellow light, and then making a custom yellow-green mix. So I decided to mix Dioxazine purple with Hansa yellow light because they are considered to be a traditional complementary pair. And when we mix these two colors together, we don't get a true neutral, but we do get a really nice dark brown color that can still be really useful even though it's not a true neutral. So in addition to mixing dioxazine with Hansa yellow light, I'm going to mix it with a custom yellow-green mixture I made using phthalo green yellow shade and Hansa yellow light. And when I mix these two colors together, we get something that's really close to neutral. So if you would like to neutralize dioxazine purple, I'd recommend using a yellow-green color. So in addition to mixing dioxazine with Hansa yellow light, I'd like to show you what happens when you mix it with a few of my blue colors, including ultramarine violet, French ultramarine, and Indian foam blue. So first, I'll be mixing my Hansa Yellow Light with Ultramarine Violet, and what we see is something that's much closer to neutral compared to the dioxazine mixture, but it does still have a slightly greenish cast. So the next color I'll be mixing Hansa Yellow Light with is French Ultramarine. And unlike the Ultramarine Violet, we don't get something that's neutralized, and instead we get a green. But this green is pretty muted, so if you want to mix a muted green quickly, French Ultramarine and Hansa Yellow Light is a good way to do that. So the next color I'll be mixing Hansa Yellow Light with is Indinfrome Blue. And like with the French Ultramarine, you don't get a true neutral, but you do get a nice muted green that can be really useful for different situations. So now I'll show you how to make some off neutrals with Phthalo Blue Green shade by first mixing it with transparent Pyrrole Orange and then burnt umber. So first we'll mix Phthalo Blue with transparent Pyrrole Orange, and we see something that's pretty close to neutral, but it does have a bias towards both green and brown. So the next mix will be Phthalo Blue with burnt umber, and like with the previous mix, we see something that's pretty close to neutral, but there is a bias towards a hue, and in this case it looks kind of greenish. So finally, I'd like to show you how to mix a neutral color by using cyan, magenta, and yellow. And the pigments I'll be using are Phthalo Blue Green shade, Quinacridone Magenta, and Hansa Yellow Light. So when I mix this triad together, we get a really nice dark neutral mix. So to finish this video, I'll show you all the neutrals and muted tones that I made. These combinations aren't the only way to mix neutrals, and I encourage everyone to play around with their paints to see what mixes they get. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.